Hi friends, my name is Alex and this is Henry running around down there. I want to talk to you today about what to look for when you're first purchasing a hedgehog cage, and also to show you the best cage setup that I have found for myself personally. I've had about 4 hedgehogs over the years, and I've tried quite a few different cage setups, either from hand-me-downs from previous owners or different setups I had tried myself. And this is the best cage that I've settled on. So let me get you flipped over here. Now this is the Guinea habitat by Midwest. This is sold at almost every pet website on the planet. I got mine from Chewy. This is $50. It's 8 square feet, so it's 2 by 4 feet. For the price and the size, this is the best price I have found on a cage this big. It is a wire body, so these are all folding panels. When it comes, it's completely accordions down in stacks. And then the corners, they just hook together. So if you were taking it down, it folds completely flat. And then the base is this vinyl coated canvas material. It's completely waterproof, and if it gets like really dirty, you can even blast it with the hose. I did that when we were moving. And then to attach it into the bottom of the cage, it just has these Velcro loops that you snap around the bars of the cage, so your hedgie can't get at the Velcro, but it keeps it in place really well. So you can open it up either on the top, and it's nice to be able to open it like this if you maybe have a not as friendly hedgehog and you need to be able to get 2 hands to scoop in there under them, or if you're taking out really big cage items like maybe a wheel. Henry usually does have a wheel in here, but I did take it out because he wants to run 24/7 and it's pretty noisy, so he's just scootling around his cage right now because he wants his wheel back. And then also it does have 2 openings here where you can reach in with one hand. There's one on this side, and there's also one on the other side as well. And since these panels, they just connect with these loops, you could rearrange the cage to have both openings on one side, or you could have the opening on maybe one of the little ends. I just like having an opening on either of the long ends. And then since it is completely metal, I am able to have my ceramic heat emitters or his CHE heaters just laying straight on top. The reason I really prefer metal is because with plastic cages, there is sometimes a risk if your plastic off-gassing. A lot of people use like Sterilite plastic totes to use as a cage setup since they're cheap, and you can get a few of them and link them up and have a big cage area for your hedgehog. But the problem with those is it's not heat resistant plastic, and it's really hard to get the lamp close enough to your hedgehog's area to keep it warm, but not too close that the plastic is heating up and off-gassing. And I've actually seen some people have their cages melt, so it's definitely something to keep in mind. If you do have to go with a Sterilite like storage bin or a plastic tote situation, I recommend setting it up a couple days before you put your hedgehog in here, and make sure that you have your heat lamps plugged in and on, and just let them go for a while to make sure things don't overheat or start melting. And then another thing to keep in mind when you have your cage, the Guinea habitat had the canvas liner. It comes up about like 4.5 inches here, and this prevents your hedgehog from climbing up the sides, because hedgehogs love to climb stuff. As you can see, Henry is going crazy here because he doesn't have his wheel. They will climb on everything. They'll climb on their igloo, they'll try to climb up the walls. The thing is, they will get up and they can't get down. So if your hedgehog has bars that are too close together, they will like get halfway up and then they can fall, and it can lead to broken legs even. It's really dangerous for them. Another thing, Henry isn't too much of a climber, but if your hedgehog is like a super rambunctious climber, keep stuff like this away from the edges, because they will get on top of it and then try to go up the sides of the cage. If the cage you buy doesn't have a barrier on the side, you don't want to completely cover the side with any material, because it's good to have airflow. What you can do is get plastic cutting boards from the Dollar Tree. You can cut them in half and you can use like a hole punch, and you can just zip tie them and have the zip ties pointing out on the back so your hedgehog can't chew on it. But that way you have a barrier on the side and your hedgehog can't climb up and hurt themselves climbing around. The only other cage setups that I have personally used was actually an oversized aquarium. The only reason I was able to do that was because I had a relative who had fish, and the aquarium wasn't being used. Otherwise, those are very, very, very expensive and not a very frugal way of housing your hedgehog. So really, you can go with whatever cage you find, that just make sure that it's big enough. Make sure that you have a way to attach your heat emitters. If it's not a heat resistant material like metal, you can use these clamps and clamp it to maybe like a lamp or a table or a bookcase or something overhanging the cage. One thing to keep in mind when you are figuring out that setup is these do not emit heat very far. I have a dangling thermostat. Its sensor is on the end of this wire, so I have it way down. I have it out of reach of Henry, but just so I can see what temperature it is actually down here, because it's a very drastic difference between when you put your hand up here and you think, oh, it's really warm, and then you get down here where your hedgehog actually is. So I have the readout of the thermometer down there. It's showing a little low right now because I had to take all his heat lamps out when I was changing his fleece liner in here. But just make sure that you have your cage set up so that you can have those heat lamps. And I'd recommend making sure you get everything plugged in and going before you bring your hedgehog home, because they can get cold quickly, and it's not really fair on them to be waiting while we've tried to figure out their cage setup for the first time. But I'll throw a link in the description of where I bought this cage. And if you have any questions, leave me a comment and I'd love to chat with you. But thank you for hanging out with me and Henry, and we will see you in another video soon. Bye!